Yes, indeed. Welcome to This ADHD Life. This is the first real official episode I've recorded for 2018, and I suppose I should be beating myself up for not being consistent and not recording these on a weekly or bi-weekly basis and not putting them out as often as I would like to put them out. But how about this? How about I not beat myself up and instead explain to you next week sort of what was holding me back? I actually had a very powerful coaching session this past week, last Tuesday. The school I went to allows you to come back and be a client during coaching practicums. And the budding coach that coached me actually really helped me sort of get unstuck in an area that has limited why it is that I'm not recording these episodes more often. And, it's kind of exciting because I may be changing the name of this podcast, or I might be adding a podcast, not sure, but have some possibilities that have come out of that. But I thought just maybe a quick episode here to talk about what's happened since the last time I recorded back in January 2018. At that time, I described a hope rather than a goal for 2018, a hope that I might be paid or have someone pay my travel to go to Australia to do some public speaking. And, that hope has lessened a bit. It still is a hope. I would love it if sometime around my birthday, someone out in Australia said, "Hey, we need you to come speak to our group because we like what you have to say about ADHD. We like the fact that you think about it in a positive way and not the negative way that a lot of people do. And you're not necessarily loading up tips and tricks." I like to think of this podcast as sort of a great blend of science-based fact, a little bit of woo-woo, and a little bit of rah-rah. Depending on who you speak to, there are some coaches out there that do only facts, some do all woo-woo, some all do rah-rah, but really in life, there's a gray area. There's no one approach that works for everybody, and I think a blend of all three helps people the most. At least that's what helps me. Is some days I need a little bit of woo-woo, some days some rah-rah, and some days I just need facts. So here's what's been going on. You may notice if you're on the YouTube video of this, watching this on YouTube, and yeah, you can tell that I need a haircut and I need to trim my beard, and that is scheduled for tomorrow. Probably should have been scheduled about a week and a half ago, but you know how it is with ADHD. We sometimes put off the things that we intend or want to do the most, or need to do the most, really. Like, who really wants to go get a haircut unless you're going out somewhere fancy? Haircut definitely is needed. But the first thing that's new is glasses. I used up some health insurance benefits back at the end of 2017. And being a man of a certain age, my eyes are starting to, I wouldn't say fail me, but I would say definitely they're starting to age. And so I actually wound up needing, I think this is fairly rare, but both of my lenses are a plus variant, which means they're sort of magnifiers. And it is amazing how clearly I can see now. It's amazing how you can go through life, or at least I went through life, not realizing that what I was seeing was not reality. And I remember back when I first got the glasses and put them on, I kept like putting them on, taking them off, looking at my cat. I'm like, my God, my cat has that much detail in his fur. Thank God there were no squirrels around, right? But the other thing that's happened is during January, I actually went to a coaching retreat, and I'm now part of a wonderful group of fellow coaches and, people that just want to have a great life this year and have certain hopes and dreams and goals to attain. But the most important thing is I was part of a retreat, and the living room in the retreat center had bookcases upon bookcases upon bookcases, most of them religious texts. And what I noticed about the glasses is I wound up getting more distracted because now I could suddenly read all of the titles that I wouldn't normally be able to. And so I actually had to wind up taking the glasses off for periods of time because it was just too distracting. I'd try to focus on someone and I'd be like reading all of the titles in the background. The other thing I notice is, and I'm noticing it right now, is, oh my goodness, glasses get dirty. And when they get dirty, they really can take you out of focus. So that's the first thing that's been happening this year. Medication changes, I have to say, not necessarily on the ADHD side, but on the comorbid side. I've been going through some medication changes there and definitely noticing some differences, good and bad. And I mention this not because I want you to know everything about my life, but to let you know that, comorbid conditions exist with ADHD, and the struggles with medication absolutely can be real. It's really, really kind of crazy. And, along with that, I think I actually suffer from seasonal affective depression disorder. And, when the spring came up, I suddenly started activating again. But February, March were not my months for productivity. Not to say I didn't get stuff done, but I certainly wish that I would have gotten some more stuff done. So the message is, if you're going through medication changes, if you're just ramping up on your ADHD meds or trying to figure out the perfect fit, or you're taking some medications for a comorbid condition such as anxiety or depression or even bipolar. Some folks have bipolar issues along with their ADHD. You got to be kind to yourself as you transition medications, right? It's the idea of, if you were diabetic and you were taking insulin, you don't, you wouldn't be cruel to yourself. I mean, you might beat yourself up for being type 2 diabetic. Oh, why did this happen to me? But even most of that, or part of that's going to be genetic at least. So as you ramp up or ramp down or change medications, having an idea of being kind to yourself is very, very important. Next thing that's new. Oh my goodness, was this a change? Back in mid-March, we adopted a dog. Yep, that's right. I'm now a dog owner. It was something that my spouse wanted, and I knew this year was the year that we had to get a dog. I wasn't going to get out of it. I wasn't going to have excuses, and we have a dog, and I love having a dog, and I think the dog loves being had. At least she smiles a lot when we're petting her. But that came with its own challenges. I read a great excerpt of a book, and it might have been The Miracle Morning. I'm not sure. I did finish that book while on a recent cruise. The difference between habits, or the way to develop habits, it's kind of interesting. They say a habit takes place in 21 days, and I've heard for ADHDers it can take 3 times that long. But what I liked about this book, and what the gentleman said, was that for the first 10 days of a habit, it is absolutely horrible. It's terrible. You hate it. You resist it. You don't want to do it. The next 10 days, it becomes uncomfortable. You still don't want to do it, but is less than horrible than the first 10 days. And then the final 10 days, you start looking forward to it. Or at least it becomes an everyday thing that you do, such as brushing your teeth or eating, making dinner, going to the bathroom. Like we can at least all say that we at least use the toilet once a day, right? It becomes a thing you do. And boy, did I notice that with our dog Daisy. The first 10 days, and we had a cruise right in the middle, so I went through this twice, but the first 10 days after we got back were horrible. Oh, I didn't want to go out for walks, didn't want to have to take her out to the bathroom, like she has this energy. About the only thing I really enjoyed doing all the time was feeding her, and for some reason, feeding her and my cat at the same time and having them within a couple feet of each other brings a huge smile to my face. But, getting up, or really the going at night, when you're comfy on a Friday and you're sort of falling asleep because you've stayed up too late, and you got to take the dog out for one last time. That sucked the first 10 days. The second 10 days, it sucked less. And by days 20 through 30, and now it sucks even less. And it's now just kind of a thing I do. Do I look forward to it? Absolutely not. Do I look forward to some of her walks? Yes. Absolutely. Because I have also learned that if I take her out about an hour and a half after she has eaten for the morning, then I get a couple hours of complete freedom. She's sleeping, the cat's sleeping, nobody's snoring, and I can do whatever I want to do. I can be productive. I can watch some videos. I can take a nap. And so I'm actually enjoying that part. Do I love taking her out at night? No. but it doesn't suck as much as it once did. And so in habit creation, if you're trying to create a new habit, start to think about it that way and track it that way, that the first 10 days, yeah, it's going to suck. It's going to be like, taking your eyebrows out with wax or tweezers or something. I don't know. I don't like plucking eyebrows, as might be seen on the video. I'm not sure. And the second 10 days will suck less. The third 10 days will suck less, and the fourth less. And at some point, it'll just become a thing you do. And you don't have to enjoy doing it for it to become a habit. But the important part is to get it to the point where it sucks at least as possible. And it's a habit. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I did get some powerful coaching last week, and I realized that I was holding myself back in a number of ways. I'll be sharing that next week. So definitely tune in for that episode, because we as ADHDers can tend to hold ourselves back, whether we just don't want to be too out there, or we want to contain our energy, not feel like we're overwhelming people. We definitely can hold ourselves back. And like I said, I found a way that I've been holding myself back. Took a cruise at the end of March, got my vacation. What's changed there is cruises do not relax me as they once did. That's a sad. If I had sad trombone, I might insert it here. And I don't know, when I go to edit this podcast in an hour or two from now, I really don't know whether I'll remember to put sad trombone in, but we'll see. And finally, if you tuned in last week, you noticed on the feed was audio from a Facebook Live that I did with a fellow ADHD coach by the name of Renee Crook. We are doing, This ADHD Life is doing Ask the Coaches events. So far, it's just been Renee and I. I am looking at possibly bringing in a couple other coaches, because I do think variety is the spice of life. Our next event is going to be sometime in July. We have not nailed down a date yet. It's 2 months ahead of when we probably would go live. And if I nailed down a date now, I'd probably be rebelling about it by the middle of June. But if you are interested in asking a question, or you want to join us on Facebook Live, simply go to youradhdexperts.com and sign up to be notified when we schedule the next event. So you can be sure to be in attendance. Plus, you can also put a question in the comments of the little sign up form to ask your question. So if you want to do that, you can head to youradhdexperts.com. As I mentioned, some things may be changing around here. One thing that's changing is as I record these, I am definitely going to be doing video and posting them on YouTube. I have not decided if I am also going to live stream them somewhere and take questions. I do want a call-in show, and so I'm kind of figuring that out right now. The main thing to figure out is how to do a call-in show so that I'm not just sitting there waiting for calls, because what I don't want to have to do is edit a whole bunch of, dead space in the podcast, because editing sucks. I don't love editing. That's it for this week. GarageBand is telling me this is just over 13 minutes long. By the time I edit out some breaths and whatnot, it'll probably be a little bit less. I appreciate your tuning in. I appreciate your staying subscribed, even though I have not been on or not had a podcast in quite a while. Like I said, I have a great show for next week. I'm actually tempted to record it the same day I'm recording this, but man, I just got to trim this beard and get a little bit of a haircut before I get on video again. Hope all is well. If you have any questions or comments, please comment over at thisadhdlife.com. You can send me a tweet at thisadhdlife. You can email me at info@thisadhdlife. If you can't find a way to get in touch with me, well, that's on you, not me, because I'm pretty out there. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.